gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of the My 2 Cents podcast presented by and hosted by G2. I am G2, this is episode 224 of the podcast, and before I start off with today's topics, I would like to ask every single one of you, how are you guys doing? I'm hoping everyone had a lovely week. If not, I hope you had a good week. I hope you didn't have no miserable week, bad week. I'm hoping, as I say, every single week you guys were able to take care of things I hope you were able to take care of things that you were able to manage and take control of. I hope you were able to take care of things that you actually could do and not stress over things you couldn't do, stress that were out of your control. Because in human nature, we all have a mental note of things that we're supposed to be doing or things that we want to accomplish in a week. And as we check off things, there's always going to be certain things that we didn't get to, and certain people might stress over it, certain people might not, but I'm talking to the people that stress over just any and everything. Do not stress over things. I'm not going to say stress, but only handle things you actually can handle, and if you didn't take care of it this week, guess what? You have another week to go after it and try to, once again, go after that thing that you weren't able to handle the week before. So, long story less long, don't stress, don't fret over things you have no control over. Only handle things you actually can't control, because stress is a silent killer, not just of our mental state, but our physical state as well, because when you're at your lowest of lows, the stress can come in and just knock over that last peg and you'll be out for the count. And I don't want that to be the case for a lot of individuals out here. So please, ladies and gentlemen, don't stress over things you have no control over. Please only take care of things you actually do have control over, okay? So with that stated, I would like to get off of that and get on to our National Food Days of the Week. Today being April 20th, Easter, it is pineapple upside down cake. April 21st, chocolate covered cashews day. April 22nd is jelly bean day. April 23rd, it is cherry cheesecake day. April 24th, pigs in a blanket day. April 25th is zucchini bread day. And then to round us out, April 26th is pretzel day. Now, before I go into today's topics, as I stated, today is Easter, but Easter lands on 4/20, which is weird when you think about it. Easter landing on 4/20, it's a weird thing. I never really thought about it, how Easter is like the third Sunday in April. I've always thought that Easter is like in the early part of April, like the first or second week of April, and never ever the third week. But apparently Easter is on the third week of April on a Sunday, and this time it just happens to land on 4/20. So again, it's just weird, but to all the smokers out here that believes in the Christian faith, I wonder how you guys feel about that. It has to feel weird for you guys. It has to be weird. But hey, more power to you. Whatever your decision is, hey, you got to live with that on this day for that. But I hope everybody has a great Easter. I hope everyone is enjoying themselves. But now with that out the way, let's get on to some of the big news headlines that happened this week. I want to talk about an update on a school shooting that happened earlier this week, something that I did cover on the midweek breakdown episode this past Wednesday. When it happened, there was a school shooting in Dallas, Texas. At the time, there was like 4 people that got injured and nobody ended up dying, right? And the suspect at the time was not found. They were trying to look for him, but apparently now the suspect has been arrested. He actually turned himself in. This is coming from Fox News 4 or Fox 4 News. They were right up and said the 17-year-old Tracy Haynes Jr. has turned himself in and is charged with 4 counts of aggravated assault in a mass shooting at Wilmer Hutchins High School. They would break down an article showing that surveillance video shows him being let into the school through an unsecured door before opening fire on a group of students. As I said, at least 4 students were injured, 3 were said to have non-life-threatening injuries, and 1 is in serious conditions, and the campus will be closed for the rest of the week. Now, again, I don't know what went down in that. I don't know why this happened here. There was a video that did come out. I'm not certain if people saw it this week when the guy turned himself in. Somehow a video came out of him driving around, and he talked about, hey, you guys might not be seeing me, and next time you might be seeing me, might be in some cuffs, but he would say that he had to do it. He said, once they told me they're going to get me, I had to go get them, which I would like for him to break that down. And I'm hoping that he has a lawyer so the lawyer can actually articulate what he meant by that. Who told him that they were going to get him? Because he talked about how his mom isn't here, his, I believe, granny or grandmother isn't here, and he doesn't want to be basically dead. He's tired of seeing us black folks die by the hands of them. So I would like for that to be dove into more. As I said, I really do hope that Tracy does get a lawyer and we figure out exactly what happened, because again, for him to just go into the school through an unsecured door and just opening fire, it has to be something. Something is missing in this puzzle. And hopefully we get more information as this story is still developing, but I am glad that nobody did die from here. I am sad that 4 people were shot and injured, but no one did die from this, so I'm happy about that. But on a other side of the coin here, we had another school shooting this past Thursday, and it was in Florida. And unlike the school shooting that happened in Texas, this one did have some casualties, which resulted in deaths. CBS News will write up about it. 2 people were killed and 6 were injured after an active shooter opened fire at the Florida State University campus in Tallahassee on Thursday, law enforcement said at a news conference. Police on Friday clarified to CBS News that 5 of the injured victims were wounded by gunfire and a 6th was injured while fleeing the scene. The suspect gunman was shot by police and was taken to a local hospital where he remained hospitalized Friday. The alleged gunman has been identified as 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, an FSU student who is the son of a Leon County Sheriff's deputy. The suspect was taken into custody after being shot by police, officials said, adding that he invoked his right not to speak with police. Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Revel released a video statement Friday saying there is no known connection between the suspect and any of the victims. Revel said the suspect was seriously injured and will require a significant amount of time in the hospital. He will then be transferred to a detention facility and faces charges up to and including first-degree murder. Investigators say the suspect used his mother's former service weapon, now owned by her, as a personal handgun, which was at the scene. They say he was also armed with a shotgun. Now, when CBS did write up this article, they didn't have the victims who tragically lost their lives. They didn't have their names in it. People.com, they would identify the 2 men that did lose their lives. Their names were Robert Morales and Tiru Chiba. I'm hoping I'm saying that man's name right. Both were fathers and they worked in the food service industry. They were killed, as I said, at the campus. And yeah, that's what's been going on so far, man. First and foremost, I do want to give my thoughts, prayers, and condolences to the people that lost their lives and people that didn't lose their life but were just shot this week at these school shootings. I'm not certain what's going on right now. It's not wrapping around my brain. Let me stop right now. You're at the end of the school year, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're in college where this happened or high school where the earlier school shooting happened in Dallas, right? Or in Texas. You're at the end of the year. What would make you decide to say, you know what? I'm going to do a school shooting now. It's not the thing. Again, Dallas, the Texas one, we're going to have to wait for more information on that because, again, the video did pop up of him driving around saying that the dude said that he was going to get him, so he got them before they could get him. Again, I'm hoping that his lawyer will be able to expand on that. But the Florida State University one, I don't know what the deal is up with that. Again, this is still new to everyone right now. We're probably going to be finding out more information as this week comes to pass and comes to play. I'm hoping so. But you're at the end of the school year. Certain people are on spring break right now. Certain people, if you're in college, you know this is right around the time where the semester is about to end and you're off for summer break unless you go back and continue doing your college courses during the summer. But if not, you have all summer to do what you got to do, get a college weekend, summer-esque type job until you pop right back into the fall, all these type of things. But why would you try to do a school shooting now when it's at the end of the year? You shouldn't do a school shooting at all, but you're at the end of the year. I don't understand that thought process. And again, thoughts and prayers to everyone that was shot, and thoughts and prayers to the people that did lose their lives this past week to the school shootings. Thoughts and prayers to the families, to the associates, to the friends, all these individuals out there, and to the people that just traumatized. Because who would think a school shooting would happen where you're at? I'm pretty sure people don't think that. But when it happens, it traumatizes you and it makes you afraid to go back to the school or go back to said college campus. So again, my thoughts are to everyone's just traumatized out there in the educational world. And hopefully before this school year is over, because it almost is about to be over, this will be the last of some type of tragic event happen at a school. All right. Again, when more information comes out about any of these school shootings, I'm hoping to bring it back to this podcast and talk about the new information coming about. Speaking on new information, there's been this ongoing saga about the man that was deported out of the United States into El Salvador and how right now they're trying to get the man back, but it just seems that it's not happening. Kilmar Garcia, he was gone. He went to El Salvador because he was deported by the Trump administration because of ICE and the whole deportation stuff that they've been doing. Well, Maryland Senator Chris Van Holland, he did go to El Salvador this week. He did meet with Garcia, and you see that there was photos taken of the meeting that they had with one another. Chris, he did return back this week, and he did talk about it. CBS News would cover it. He would talk about how he traveled to El Salvador on Wednesday. He checked on Garcia's health and well-being. He said his conversation with me was the first communication that he had with anybody outside the prison since he was abducted. He said he felt very sad about being in prison because he had not committed any crimes. However, he said Garcia has since been moved to another prison where he says the conditions are better. He told me, and this was yesterday, 8 days ago, so 9 days ago from today, he was moved to another detention center in Santa Ana where the conditions are better, but he said despite the better conditions, he still has no access to any news from the outside world and no ability to communicate with anybody in the outside world. So that's the circumstances that Garcia is dealing with, and I'm glad that someone over here in the States that is a senator or just someone in politics that actually has some type of power did go over there and communicate with the man, because everyone is saying that it's wrong. People that knows it's wrong are saying that it's wrong, how you are just taking people out of the States that didn't commit any crimes. They just might be Hispanic and they might be in that bubble that you're trying to do. Just take them out of here and just deport them and just ship them out. It's wrong. And I'm glad that someone did stick up, did have a backbone, and did go over to visit the man, see the man, and just have a conversation with the man. Now, will that mean that Garcia is going to come back to the States quicker now because of this? No. It's still going to require, obviously, the El Salvador president to say, all right, we can let him go back to the States, which will also allow and have to have Trump kind of like giving the A-OK to allow that to happen too. But I believe this past week, President Trump and El Salvador's president, they sat, and I believe it was in the Oval Office, and he said that was kind of like preposterous. So again, we're just gonna have to wait and see about Mr. Garcia coming back to the States, but I am glad that at least a senator did go over there and did check up on him, and we're starting to see people actually push back. We're starting to see people in Republican states actually talk about how this is wrong. Regular, everyday people. When you think of Republicans, you think of people that are not cool with, well, people that are cool with the deportation, because usually that's always been the backing and always been the thought process with the Republican Party for the last many years, deporting people and all that. But when you're going against the law, because there was a video going around of another councilman in a Republican state, and he was being questioned and peppered by the people saying, are you guys going to bring the guy back because it's wrong? He didn't have no due process. The Supreme Court is saying that, he got to have due process before you can like deport him out of here. And he didn't get that. That's wrong. So again, people are seeing that this is wrong. People are really sticking up. And I'm glad, again, someone in power, even though it's not the president, did go to El Salvador and did talk to him. And again, I'm hoping that things does change. I'm hoping that Mr. Garcia does get back to the States. And, but as it seems, we're just going to have to wait and see about that. I want to continue on technically with that, continuing going on. The judge that had a problem with Trump, that did try to like put a halt to Trump's administration of the whole deportation process, and was looking into it because he told him, don't you deport nobody, the Venezuelan last set of people that left out of here. The Hill did write up an article. They said the appeals court halts the judge's contempt proceedings against the Trump administration. In the article, they will say a divided federal appeals court panel on Friday temporarily halted U.S. District Judge James Bosberg's contempt proceedings against Trump administration over his deportation flights to El Salvador last month. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit indicated its order is intended to provide sufficient opportunity for the court to consider the government's appeal and should not be construed in any way as a ruling on the merits of that motion. But for now, it prevents the judge from moving ahead with his efforts to hold administration officials in contempt. The judge on Wednesday did find probable cause for contempt, calling the government's refusal to turn around the March 15th deportation flights a willful disregard for the court's order. So that's the reason why he went to the appeals court and they had all that, but they kind of put the kibosh to it right there. So again, we're just going to have to wait and see what's going down with more deportations out of the states into El Salvador or into any other country that Trump wants to like put the migrants in. But my thought process is still the same. You can't do that. It's not right. This second term is way different than the first term. There's people behind the scenes. I say this almost every time I talk about the Trump administration. And again, I got to put this disclaimer out there. Any thoughts that I have, any political thoughts that I have, matter of fact, any thoughts in general that I have on the show is strictly mine. G2's thoughts. Nobody's. I am not a political affiliate to the Republican Party, Democratic Party, any party at all. I am strictly the party of one, which is me. And any thoughts and opinions that I have on anything political or any views all lands on me. Period. Point blank. All right. That's why the show is called My 2 Cents Podcast. I put it literally in the description of the podcast. The thoughts and opinions of me. That's all this podcast is about. And yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see how all this goes. But I am liking that a judge and now a senator is actually trying to step up and actually trying to do the right thing when they see an injustice. Usually, from time to time, people usually see some injustice that happens in the government like way. They usually just step aside, not really get their hands or head involved into it because they know there's bigger things at play. But I am glad seeing a judge really trying to step up and trying to say, yo, this isn't right. We got to really stop this administration from just trying to just run anything the way that they see it. And I'm glad that we have a senator that's really stepping up and that made the travel to El Salvador to actually visit someone and try to just talk to them. Because I'm surprised other senators, other governors, even though they might not be from Maryland, you can still go over there and check on the guy to see how he's doing, because we all thinking it is all wrong. So again, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen there, but I am happy that there's still more news coming out of that as the weeks constantly roll by, and I do hope that Mr. Garcia does come back into the States. That's what I am hoping for. Moving off of that, we're sticking with more updates here. ABC News will have an update for the Luigi Mangione situation. Luigi Mangione was indicted on federal charges for the CEO killing. A federal grand jury in New York on Thursday returned a 4-count indictment against alleged CEO killer Luigi Mangione that charges him with 2 counts of stalking, firearm offense, and murder through the use of a firearm, a charge that makes him eligible for the death penalty if convicted. I've said it once and I'll say it again. I don't see how Homeboy is going to be convicted, especially with how the things are working over here in the States, the way that people view Luigi. Again, it's all alleged because we don't know if he did kill Brian Thompson. We have no idea. But he's the guy kind of standing trial for it. So we're just going to have to wait and see about that. They said that he is scheduled to be arraigned in Manhattan Federal Court on April 25th. So that's this upcoming week. Well, this week, actually. So when more information comes out about that, more than likely on my Sunday episode next week, I'll talk about it if anything explosive or more interesting comes out about it. But so they're saying now he's eligible if he is convicted and found guilty in the trial. He'll be eligible for the death penalty, but I don't see him even being found guilty. I don't see no jury pool that they come to find that's going to convict Luigi. I've said it once before and I'll reiterate it here. If Luigi happens to be found guilty, it's because there are people on that freaking jury pool that I feel, and again, it's all me here, I feel that are going to be paid off by some big people. Because Luigi killing someone or allegedly killing someone, because again, you gotta go to trial. If he happened to do it, but it's all alleged right now, but if he happened to do it, right, and he gets found not guilty of this act, it would seem that we're actually going to allow the inmates kind of to run the asylum a little bit in things that they don't like. Because if you kill a top guy in the health insurance industry, which Brian Thompson, he was the CEO, right? That's top dog of United Healthcare. If you happen to kill him, even though they can be replaced, that doesn't mean that other people won't try to do the same thing. Because literally after Brian Thompson got murked, you saw people talk about it. It was on the news how all these other healthcare companies started to take their faces and photos off of the websites because, again, they're worried about another copycat, Luigi copycat, right? Now, if Luigi happens to be found not guilty of this, it just seems, again, that we're letting the inmates run the asylum and we're going to get some Luigi copycats. And don't think people won't have time to find the photos of these top CEOs of these health insurance companies. Because they will, because people will have time. Because guess what? When you have people that are going through things medically and they get denied of these things, people's heads start to turn, especially if they're paying medical every single month and they're getting declined by their company. That's going to weigh on them and that's going to piss them off. And now they will think, okay, if Luigi got off, I can get off because the jury found some, I'm not going to say likability, but they're going to find some easy comparisons. Because Luigi did that for this reason. I did that for this reason. So the jury's going to be able to side with me the way that they side with Luigi. So that's the only way I see Luigi getting off, because people will side with him because of that. But if Luigi gets found guilty, it's going to be because the top people in medical, top people in government, the behind the scene hands are going to be paying off or make sure this type of stuff isn't going to happen and kind of put the kibosh to it. Because if you don't, you're going to allow the legit inmates to run the asylum. It's going to happen. So again, we'll have to wait and see when the trial actually does happen. But for my bottom dollar, if I were to put a bet on this, I'm going to say it now and I'll say it again. I do not see Luigi Mangione being found guilty when his trial does come to pass. I still don't see it. But if it does happen, we'll all be shocked as a nation, but I don't think we'll all be truly shocked. Because again, we all kind of know there's some workers behind the scene. But anyway, when more information about his trial does come to pass and when his trial actually does start, I'll talk about it here. Now, moving off of Luigi Mangione trial, the update on that. Here's an update on a past news story that I haven't been paying attention to. And I can self-admittedly say that because, as we all know, the world constantly goes in a circle and more news comes out every single day. But this is a news story that has finally come to its conclusion 2 years ago. I remember talking about this. This was a news story about a wife shooting her husband, who at the time was accused to have allegedly assaulted children at the wife's daycare, right? And the wife happened to find out about the alleged molestation of some of the kids at the time. So she ended up shooting her husband. She ended up pleading guilty to assault and gun charges for shooting her husband, right? This happened in 2023. Now, in 2025 now, it has been found out because people.com would write up an article about it. And the article will state, retired police officer has been sentenced to life in prison for sexually abusing children at wife's daycare. James Stanley Weems Jr. was sentenced to life in prison on Monday, April 14th. So it will state right here, the sentencing comes after Weems was found guilty of 3 counts of sexually abusing a minor, 2 counts of second-degree rape, and 1 count of displaying obscene materials to a minor in November 2024, online records show. The charges are concerning just one of his alleged victims, who was 10 years old at the time of the abuse. Weems was charged in 2022 for molesting 4 children at the Little Kids Castle Daycare Center in Maryland, per the outlet. And this is what I was talking about here. They would go over the story again about how the wife learned about her husband at the time doing this, and then she ended up shooting him. And all in all, homeboy is now a dirty, nasty son of a gun, and now hopefully he gets beat up in prison because he has been found guilty of these nasty things. And I've always say this, I think every adult, I don't care if you're a drug dealer, I don't care if you're a killer, I don't care if you steal from people, I think sane individuals on this world, no matter what occupation you're in, I think we all can come to some general understanding about things. But I think one of those general understanding is that kids should always be off limits. Kids, children, even teenagers should be off limits because they have no business being messed with, right? And whenever we hear about people messing around with children, teenagers, and doing something like this, sexually assaulting, doing those type of things to children, teenagers, we all can come to the agreement that this person should get messed up. And I believe that. And once the wife found out about these allegations some years ago and doing the shooting, right? She ended up shooting her husband. Cool. Again, nobody had like any evidence. He wasn't found guilty. This was all alleged at the time. But now, with it being found guilty of these things, I think that the wife should be out of prison. I believe she was sentenced to 4 years because of that. And her 4 years are almost kind of up because she got sentenced in 2023 at the time. And if you do the math, that's only like 2 more years she got. She should be out. She should be out by now because if she ended up shooting her husband because of that, finding out about these allegations and finding out about it and doing what she did, she should be out. She should be out. That should be expunged from her record because she was just trying to do what any sane human being would do. Because think about it. Imagine if you hear the person that you love, the person that you marry, the person that's your spouse, partner, whatever, ends up touching on a child that you're the owner of a daycare for. You will lose your mind. I don't care if you're a man or female, you will lose your mind about that. You will lose it. You will probably hurt your partner because you will ask yourself, what would make you want to touch on a child? What is it? Like, nah, that's just a sickness. So for me, I feel that the wife should be out of jail. She should be out of prison. And she should have her record expunged from that. That shouldn't even be a thing where people could just look her up online and see that. Like, expunge that from her record. I feel that way. I think that the former wife should be out of jail, out of prison, and that's how I feel about it. But again, law is the law. Hoping that her lawyer is actually petitioning for that. I'm hoping that people are petitioning for it because, dude, this is just nasty across the board. Especially now knowing that he did it and he's been found guilty of it. Yeah, let the former wife out now. But Mr. Wims here, Jr., you're going to get messed up in prison, bro. You're going to get messed up. Which I'm pretty sure you know that because you are a retired police officer. So you know how those people think inside of a prison for a child diddler going up in there. So again, for me, I think you're going to get messed up, and it is what it is on that one. But yeah, get the wife out. Get the former wife out of prison. That's my whole deal with that. Get her out of there. She did what she needed to do at that time because she knew it was the truth. Now, moving off of that, still sticking in court, I have an article from The Independent. They will say Elon Musk Tesla has settled a lawsuit with a black worker who claimed employees were told, "Welcome to the plantation." In an article, it will state Elon Musk Tesla has settled a racial discrimination lawsuit after a black employee sues the company, alleging a manager sometimes greeted her by saying "Welcome to the plantation" and "Welcome to the slave house." Employee Raina Pierce, who installed latches on car doors at Tesla's California plant, finalized a settlement agreement with the automaker on Thursday. According to a filing in San Francisco federal court, terms of agreement remained unknown. Pierce says she faced harassment, was called a gender-based insult, and saw racial slurs scribbled on bathroom walls. Pierce also says she was yelled at and disciplined for behaviors that her non-black co-workers were not. According to the lawsuit, one Tesla employee who temporarily joined her line told Pierce to speak out. "You need to go to HR because these leads are saying things about you that are not right," the employee said. The Independent has contacted Tesla's attorney and Pierce's attorney for comment. This isn't the first racial discrimination lawsuit to come out of Tesla's Fremont plant. Last year, Tesla settled a 2017 harassment lawsuit with former elevator operator Owen Diaz, who is black. Diaz said he heard racial slurs daily, saw swastikas drawn throughout the plant, and witnessed other racist conduct, Reuters reported. The settlement ended appeals from both sides after a jury awarded Diaz $3.2 million in damages in 2023. Diaz was also awarded $137 million by a different jury in 2021, but a judge later found it was excessive. A new trial was ordered, and Diaz refused a lower amount of $15 million. So, I don't know what's going on over there in those Tesla plants. I don't know if there's racist people there. I don't know if there's, like, Nazi people there. I don't know if they're just white supremacists over there. I don't know. But from just reading off the back of these situations, there needs to be some type of somebody kind of like holding the ground over there in Tesla. Because if not, hey, allow my black people to constantly get paid. Allow them to hear you guys say racist things and allow them to get paid. I mean, allow it to happen. I mean, black people, we hear racist things on a day-to-day basis. But I mean, if we can get paid off of a company employee saying it, why not? But I would just think from a business mindset, you will want to place or put people in positions that they don't cost you money. But who's to say, man? Tesla, Elon Musk, he got in the government. He does what he wants to do. So, I mean, this could just be like a little speck of dust on his shoulder and he just brushes it off because he could just pay it. Again, I don't know what's going on with a lot of things over here. I don't. But, yeah, man, it's not cool. I think just because you're black and you hear people say some derogatory things about you, and again, we're black, we hear it every day. That doesn't make it cool. At your workplace, you don't want to hear that, but if you can get paid from it, you're going to say, screw it, let me take the money. But I think that it's still wrong. It's still wrong in any shape, form, or fashion, no matter how you slice or dice it. And I think there needs to be some type of personnel over there to kind of like manage to make sure nobody says anything racist, nobody says anything foul, anything like that. Because welcome to the plantation and welcome to the slave house, and you're saying it to a black person, you are losing your mind, bro. You lost it. You can't be saying that at all. I'm not certain how it comes off in other countries at all because I don't really study other countries, like things like that. Like in American, over here, like in America, they don't really dive deep into the world's, into each country's, history like that. We don't. We only focus too much on American history here. So you should know that saying to a black person, welcome to the plantation, welcome to the slave house, you know what that's going to mean. You know what that means. You know what you're saying in that. So, again, if you're going to say that, cool, fork over the cash, hand it over, fist over to the people, do that. But there does need to be some type of person over there to kind of manage people over there from saying something ludicrous and stupid like this, because this was just nasty. But I'm glad that she did get some money out of it. Am happy for that. Now, moving off of that topic, on to the next topic that I do want to discuss with you all. It comes from CBS News, and they would talk about how a family that has a higher income is now turning to food banks because of inflation. Who would have guessed? Inflation has more people turning to food banks for help, including people with six-figure incomes and struggling to feed their families. Cassandra Kelsey of Wallingford, Connecticut, is a mother of three who works full-time as a program director at Yale School of Public Health and sometimes take on a second job to make ends meet. In their household, two people take home a total of $150,000, but it's often not enough. That's not what you bring home after taxes. You know, we have a mortgage, insurance, we got one kid on the way to college, one in college. Something as small as $1,000 expense could throw things off significantly, Kelsey said. For Kelsey, food insecurity is a long life trauma, having visited food banks as a child. To be in a position where you are doing okay, then you lose everything the next day is humbling, it's scary, Kelsey said. Kelsey has relied on help from Connecticut Food Share, the state's largest food bank, on and off for over a decade. She and two of her children now give back by volunteering there. Nationally, more than 50 million people need help getting food from charities, according to food bank network Feeding America. In Connecticut, 1 in 8 people are food insecure, according to Connecticut Food Share. They're your neighbor. They're your friend. They could be your family, said Connecticut Food Share CEO Jackson Jakubowski. Jackson said demand for their food jumped 23% last year. He expects another double-digit increase this year. Recently, he's seen more demand from people with higher incomes who need help. So that tells you everything that you need to know about inflation. Or they're just willing to say, and this is, I don't think this is far-fetched to say, people would rather say, you know what, if there's a food bank there and people are giving away food, why not go there, see what I can get from there, and then I'll just pay money on things that I'm willing to spend it on because I don't have to spend it on this because the food banks are giving it to me. Certain people are doing that because people are trying to just save the money and trying to just be smart with things. But if you have the money, I would say spend it. Go out there and spend what you have to on food that you're supposed to use, because food banks, they're supposed to be for the people that don't have the money like that to really go out there and buy in the grocery stores for what they need in their homes. That's what food banks and food drives and all that stuff is for. Now for people that have enough money to do that, and they just say, you know what, I'm going to just go there anyway because it's there and it's free to the people. That's nasty work to me. I don't like that, but again, certain people do it. Hey, to each his own, all right? But all in all, ladies and gentlemen, if you see people that need help with food, if you have enough to give it away, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and give away some of your food. I'm not saying give it away at all, because people in my life, people in my personal life would know me. They would say, Joe, you are stingy. You ain't trying to help people like that. They would be right and wrong. If you know me, I will help. If I know you and I know that you actually need help like that, I will help. But I'm not going to go out of my way so much that I can cause damage to me and mine. I'm not doing that, because I have to care about mine before I can technically go out and give a big extending hand to someone and potentially cause damage to me and mine. Because then if I do that to me and mine, who's going to look out for mine? See, I'm not that type of guy to do that. So again, if you have enough to extend out to someone and actually do it, I will say go ahead and do it, and go to those food banks and volunteer some of the food and give it all to them. And if you have money, do not just go to those food banks. Don't do that, because those are the people that don't have the money, don't have the income, don't have the stuff like that. So please don't be a douchebag like that if you do have the money. All right. So again, go out there, support your local food banks, support your local food drives if you have it like that to do so. And if you need them food, please go out there and go get it if you need it. Keyword, not need, not want, but need. Last thing that I do want to say before I get out of here, BBC News, they did write up an article about the Fyre Festival. It has been postponed. The scheduled dates and location of Fyre Festival 2 has been thrown into doubt, according to U.S. media reports. The reboot of the 2017 Fyre Festival, which became internationally known for its disastrous attempt. It sparked headlines. It made documentaries about it. Netflix had a hit documentary on it, and it had Billy McFarland, who was the organizer for that Fyre Festival, actually going to jail for fraud. It was to take place in Mexico from May 30th to June 2nd. McFarland's second attempt to stage the event was announced not long after he was released from prison, with tickets pricing from $1,400 to $1.1 million, which is insane. But now the organizers are reportedly looking for a new location for the festival, with the scheduled dates uncertain. A message to ticket holders on Wednesday said the event has been postponed and a new date will be announced. ABC News reported the festival's website also briefly said the event was postponed, according to NBC News. The organizer said in further update reported by NBC and New York Times that Fyre 2 was still on. We are vetting new locations and will announce our new destination soon. Our priorities remain unchanged, delivering an unforgettable, safe, and transparent experience, the update said. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say it now. Do not go to this thing. Do not try to do this thing. I understand he might have learned from his lesson with the first Fyre Festival after copious of things going wrong with the first Fyre Festival. He might have learned from it after being in prison, learning some new things, come out with more determination than ever to try to really prove to the people that he wasn't just trying to fraud people for the first one. Why not try it again? Do not go to this thing. Do not try to support this Fyre Fest 2. Don't do it, because it's just not going to end well. This right here should be the second strike to show everyone that things are not going well, things are not going right. I would think that Billy McFarland should try to talk with other festival people. Try to squeeze in a meeting with Coachella. Try to squeeze in a meeting with people at Rolling Loud. Try to squeeze in a meeting with all the little independent musical festivals or even film festivals to figure out how did they do it. Try to. Because his name carries weight. It carries weight as being a fraudster. But again, I'm going to say it right now. I don't care how you interpret this, with Billy McFarland being white and him coming out of prison, just even announcing having Fyre Fest 2, and people were willing to pay money for it, that tells you his name carries some weight. So he should be able to get a meeting with all these different concerts and other festivals head, like the people that runs these things. He should get some meetings with them and try to figure out how do they do it, because he wants to do what they're doing, but just on a different scale whenever they're not running. Because whenever Rolling Loud isn't running, whenever a Coachella isn't running, whenever a film festival isn't running, festival like Fyre Fest could happen on the side whenever these festivals isn't running. And it doesn't take nothing away from a Coachella's pocket, Rolling Loud's pocket, a film festival's pocket, or the small indies or these little places' pockets. It doesn't take away from them. It just gives people more opportunities to just spend their money that have it like that to go to these places. So again, Billy McFarland, his name carries weight, again, for being a disaster for Fyre Fest. But him just having the cojones to come out of prison to say he's going to do a second one, and he was able to still almost try it again and get news outlets to still cover it, his name carries weight. He should be able to get some type of business talk with all these other places to figure out how they did it. So Billy, so happened, if you happen to hear this from, don't know how, but hey, weird things have happened. If you happen to hear this, try to see if you can get in contact with any of these festival places that are popping. See if you can get in contact with the people and just talk to them. See how they did it. That's all I will say to you before you try to really go with this Fyre Fest 2 thing. Because I'm pretty sure you actually do have the intention on trying to succeed where you didn't succeed in your first attempt for the second one. Because you want to try to rebuild your name as actually carrying on and actually doing what you say you want to do. But you got to actually know what you're doing. And right now, it just seems you just don't. So please, go and contact these people and talk to them and see how they did it, all right? Now, with that being said, I think that's everything I do want to discuss, because not too many things happen besides like the obvious, as I said, school shootings and the Trump and the El Salvador and the man trying to come back and these updates that happen. Other than that, not too many other things happen. I know WrestleMania Night 1 just happened last night. By the time you're listening to this, you'll hear a review of that and a review of Night 2 of WrestleMania, which is happening tonight on my episode tomorrow. So I'll give you a WrestleMania review tomorrow. I believe that's everything I do want to discuss. Oh yeah, this is not an ad. I just want to get this out the way. If you haven't seen the show, I've talked about it on one of my midweek breakdown episodes. The show is called Extract. It's on its season finale this Monday night. I would go watch Extract. Again, it's a competition. It's more survival based competition, but it adds a twist of you having two people that are supposed to look out for your best interest. They're at home base with other people's representatives as well, because if you're in the competition, if you're in the force, it's you with 11 other people. So all in all, it's 12 people in this competition. So your two representatives are in home base with those other people's representatives, and it's literally a game for the competitors out there in the wild and the people at home base. I would say go watch that show. It's on Fox, but you can watch it on Hulu, because that's what I've been streaming it on there. I would say go watch it before this season finale happens. I think everyone would enjoy it. So go and watch Extracted if you haven't seen it yet. I believe that's everything I do want to discuss. So with that stated, now it's time for me to get you guys out of here. I would like to thank everybody that downloaded the podcast today. I would like to thank all the podcasting sites for having me up here, from Apple's, Amazon, Google, Podbean, all the other podcasting sites. I would like to thank every single person that downloaded and listening to me just talk about the news, whether it be in the car, in your kitchen, in your headphones, in the gym. I appreciate it, because I see where it's coming from. I appreciate all the love and support. I really do want this podcast just to be a forum for people to listen to me talk about things. And if you didn't know something, you can just pop this on and hear it, and then you can just spread this out to other people, and always know that you could have at least conversation with people, because I want this podcast to be a conversation starter with people, and for you to get and understand how people think or get their opinions on certain things, because I think that's something that's being lost out there in the world now. I think that. But again, I just want to thank everyone for downloading the podcast, and thank all the podcasting sites for having me on. So with that being stated, always remember,
I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you.
I do love you all. That is not a gimmick. I appreciate, and I do love everybody for being around and tuning into the podcast today. Again, I have a podcast coming out tomorrow for the wrestling with the WrestleMania review. Wednesday will be another midweek breakdown episode. Thursday will be another wrestling episode. Saturday will be another wrestling episode, wrestling highlights a week. And then next Sunday will be another episode of my 2 Cents podcast, where I talk to you guys about everything that happened in the world, the news with the big headlines, and I recap it all for you on the Sunday eps. That's my podcasting schedule for next week. But all in all, other than that, I want everyone to have a great day, have a great rest of the week. You'll hear from me again soon. I love you all. This isn't goodbye. This is until you hear from the sweet sounding voice again. This has been my 2 Cents podcast presented by G2. He is I and I am him. And with that being said, Kanye, could you please take these people home?
I'm tired, you tired, Jesus wept.